fourth straight overseas test loss, and one would have imagined the captain to be distraught. But far from it, skipper Dhoni sounded rather satisfied with the progress that his team has made in the last few months.
What's important is to see whether we have improved, whether we have changed the way we have played our cricket. And I think, if I compare it to the South Africa series, there are plenty of positives, especially in this series. Only we played 2 test matches, but still. So I think, we have more positives to take along with us, from this series.
All right, for more on this game, let's now go across to NDTV's cricket analyst, Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, who joins us from Wellington. Sunny bhai, MS Dhoni there, sounding rather satisfied, I must say. But do you agree with the skipper's assessment of his team? Because for most fans, 3 years without an overseas test win is not exactly a sign of things moving in the right direction.
I suppose it's a matter of perception. As a captain, you would think that there is some improvement because you haven't lost all the test matches. So that according to the skipper, and maybe that they are improving. They didn't lose both the test matches in South Africa. They haven't lost both the test matches here. While on their previous overseas tours to Australia and to England, they lost all the test matches and all the one days. So maybe that's a perception that the team is improving.
Right. So as you say that this is Dhoni's perspective of things, a case of probably glass half full or half empty. But let me ask you for your opinion. You've been a former India captain. If you found yourself in a similar position, would you look for positives or feel hurt with your team's winless streak?
Yeah, it's actually a very good question. I would have been disappointed. I would have been disappointed that I wasn't able to, from a winning position, not go on to win. I think I would have been disappointed, definitely.
All right, Sunil Gavaskar, stay on with us. We'll get back to him. But for the moment, the question that we asked you right at the start of the show was that, is this India's worst phase in Test cricket ever? Let's try and answer that question now through few graphics that we have on your screen right now. First, let's start with India's consecutive overseas test series losses. That's the graphic that we'll have on the screen right now. And take a look at that. It's not the first time. On the face of it, it might look like it's the worst phase for Indian cricket, but then it's exactly not that. Because we've had previous situations where India have lost many series in a row. In fact, from 32 to 53, we lost 6 series in a row. However, what we must now keep in mind is that we are now eliminating 2 of these instances simply because, remember, India registered their first test win in 1968 in New Zealand. So before that, India were, so to say, minnows of world cricket. So let's remove those 2 instances right on top. In the sense, you could say 3 times we've seen from 75 onwards that India have lost 4 overseas series in a row. However, the one which is right at the bottom of your screen, 2011 to 2014, is the worst. How is it the worst? We'll try and explain that. Simply because on the face of it, like I mentioned, we have shown you there are various other series losses. But why is this the worst? That's the next graphic that's coming up. Now, India's worst spell in overseas tests. That's exactly what we'll show you right now. There we have it. 2011-2014 comes right on top. Now, have a look at this graphic and you'll see that India has lost 10 test matches between 81 to 86, also between 86 to 93. But why is it that 2011 to 2014 is the worst, we're saying? For that, you need to look at the last column, which says the loss percentage. 75% of matches, or test matches rather, India has lost in that period. That tells you why this has been the worst phase for India as far as test cricket is concerned overseas. Remember, in other instances that we've got on your graphics right now, India managed to draw a lot of games overseas. 13 between 93 to 2000, 15 between 81 to 86, and 16 between 86 to 93. However, here if you see only 4 draws and 10 losses, that makes a loss percentage of 71%, which is why we are saying this is probably the worst phase for Indian cricket as far as overseas test matches are concerned. Let's go back to Sunil Gavaskar, who's with us on the phone line from Wellington. Sunny bhai, after putting into perspective how bad this phase has been for India, would you say it's time to look for a new man to lead Team India in Test cricket?
I don't think so. Not at the moment, no. Because I think Dhoni still has got plenty to offer. You cannot do anything. A captain can do very little if you don't have a bowling attack. Generally, the captain is only as good as his team. See, that is a saying which is absolutely true. There has not been a captain born, as far as I know, who has, by sheer captaincy, changed the fortunes of the team. Yes, I think there are inspirational moments, inspirational periods in every test match. Every captain gets those moments, but those moments do not necessarily always lead to a win. So a captain is only as good as his team. And unfortunately, this Indian team, we have been seeing it for some time. We are short of bowlers who can take you 20 wickets. Your bowlers, you can take maybe 16 wickets, but they're not able to take those 20 wickets which can make the difference.
Saibhai, now there is a perception that Dhoni, the skipper, is being given a long rope. Certainly a longer rope compared to captains of the past who were sometimes sacked for even one bad series. Do you think this perception is correct? And if it is, shouldn't the BCCI/selectors do something to change this?
I think the perception is there only because there has been no other person who can come around and say, look, stake a claim and say, look, he is there and he is ready. So that's the reason why the perception is there that yes, he has survived because despite not winning overseas. But the thing is, he's winning handsomely in India, and therefore it's very difficult then to say to him, okay, thank you, you won 3-0 all 3 test matches in India. But sorry, your overseas record is not good, so we are going to change the captain. So that kind of thing doesn't work.
Finally, my last question, in fact, it is more of a concern than a question, and something that many Indian fans share. Is captaining India in all 3 formats, plus leading his IPL team, taking a toll on Captain Cool? I mean, so much pressure can't be that easy to handle for anyone.
No, not as far as Dhoni is concerned. I've yet to meet anybody so completely cool and seeming to absorb pressure as Dhoni has done throughout his career. So I don't think he's not the guy who will absorb any pressure or the tensions of captaining in all three different formats, plus the IPL. I don't think he's the kind of person who will be affected by the pressure. No.